Welcome to Yeukai Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host, Yeukai Kechidori.
Hey, good afternoon. It's Yeukai again. I'm so excited to be here because what we are going to be talking about is something that affects every business owner at this time because of the pandemic. I'm talking about the loans, the grants, and the possible support you can get from the government because of what is going on right now. You may recall way back in, I think in June and July, we had another special guest who covered what was available then. Now we have another expertise who has been helping business owners during the pandemic and also just after the pandemic, talking about what's coming and what is ending so that you are up to date. Look, we always want you to feel supported. And with me here is Kirsty McGregor. Kirsty, thank you for joining me here today.
You're very welcome. Good to be here.
I'm so excited. You are one of those individuals that have come through as a direct result of our previous guest. And we had Andrew not too long ago, had a blast. And I'm expecting we're going to have a wonderful time here as well today.
I hope so.
Yes, just to get us started, Kirsty, you have been around finances for, well over 20 years now. Give us a bit of your experience, a brief history of what you've done and also who you are.
Okay, I'm glad to. Yeah, I started when I was a mid-toddler, about 20, 30 years ago. And chartered accountant originally and then specialised in corporate finance, always working with owner-managed businesses. So that covers things like raising finance for businesses, whether that's debt or equity or grants, and buying and selling companies. So really passionate that businesses always have the ability to be able to scale and grow. And for that, they need working capital and they need growth finance. And ultimately getting to that destination where they will exit their business and reap the benefits of all those hard years of work and the risk that they've taken. Whether that's through growing through acquisition or whether it's organic growth, that's really where I specialise. I now train and mentor accountants all over the UK, and between those accountancy firms, they look after about 20,000 business clients. And wider than that, I work closely with the ACCA, with the AVN network, with 2020, and all the different accounting networks that are out there. And I am accountant in residence for a funding platform called Capitalise.com.
Amazing, absolute amazing. You've got a huge portfolio and you've worked with so many different businesses and you've seen it all. We will come back to this. I want to know what differentiate those that succeed when it comes to managing their finances and those that don't at a later stage. But right now, I want to talk about what's happening on the grant front, the loan front that the government had presented for the business owners right here in the United Kingdom. What's new?
Well, what's new is that the 31st of March, it will all be changing. It was announced in the budget just a few weeks ago that what we call the CIBILS, the Coronavirus Business Interruption Loan Scheme, and the Bounce Back Loan Scheme will finish on the 31st of March, and that will be replaced by the Recovery Loan Scheme, and I can explain the difference between those. And there are also some new grants available for businesses called the Restart Grants, which are for businesses that are trying to restart their business, having been shut down for a period of time. Do you want me to talk about the loans and how they're changing? That might be good.
It would be amazing if we could talk about that straight away so those who are taking notes, they can follow along quickly.
Okay, so there were several loans issued last year in March and then in May when the pandemic first struck. And these were government-backed loans. So it's the bank's money, but if there is a default, then the government will pick up the repayment to the bank if the business owner isn't able to repay themselves. That's not a straightforward process. It's not going to be just sign up for the loan and walk away from it. That will be painful if you're not able to repay that loan. The bank will not just let you off the hook straight away. There will be a process to go through of collections. But in essence, there were two grants. There was the bounce back loan up to £50,000, and there was the CIBILS, the coronavirus business interruption loan, for above £50,000. And they were both capped at 25% of turnover for the business. Now, the difference was the bounce back loans were 100% guaranteed by the government, and the coronavirus business interruption loans were only 80% guaranteed by the government. Now, the bounce back loans were self-certified effectively. So if you had an existing banking relationship with one of the major high street banks, then you were able to apply very quickly, state what your turnover was, how much 25% of that would be for your loan, and get that on the whole, very relatively quickly. And I think there's been about 1.5 million of those loans issued. So a huge number across businesses very, very quickly. And what that entitled you to was 12 months interest paid for by the government, a flat fee of 2.5% interest, which you didn't have to make any capital repayments as a business for the first 12 months. So those that took those out in May last year when they were first launched, they still haven't made any repayments yet. So they're coming up to that 12-month timescale where they'll have to start making repayments. They can now extend those from a 6-year term to a 10-year term, and the bank will be in touch the lender will be in touch to offer that. But that was very much a self-certified loan, maximum of 50,000 or 25% of your turnover, your sales figure. The coronavirus loan was slightly different, the CIBILS loan. So this was, again, 25% cap, again, 12 months capital repayments, again, 12 months interest paid for by the government, but only 80% cover to the banks for the guarantee. And therefore, the 20% was still underwritten and committed to by the bank as their risk, which is why if you wanted one of those loans, you had to go through the full underwriting process as you would with any loan. You would have to send in your financial statements, maybe your cash flows, maybe information about your business, and that would be assessed by the lender. Yes. Now, what we found was very early on when those were first launched and they were only being offered by the high streets, the larger banks, the tier one lenders, as we call them, they were quite tricky to get, and it was a laborious process, and it was taking a long time. And then they had a bit of a shake-up with the British Business Bank to make that process a little bit quicker. They opened up applications to what we call the challenger banks, and there's a much wider choice of lenders now, and all sorts of facilities available, not just a loan, but maybe asset finance or invoice finance as well.
Right.
So that really opened the market up, and the process has become much quicker. Yes. Now, there are no personal guarantees allowed under £250,000, and above £250,000 it's capped at 20%. Yes. So all in all, both of those products were phenomenal. We've never seen anything like it in the lending community in this country for, ever, probably. That changes on the 31st of March. So if you haven't yet taken out a bounce back loan or a CIBILS loan and you want to take one out, you need to move very, very quickly now to before the 31st of March to get your application in. The bounce backs you will apply directly to the banks. The CIBILS loan will be more of an application. As I said, it needs to be underwritten, and you will need to prove to the bank that you're credible and you've got a credible business there that is, even if it's loss-making at the moment because of the situation, you can turn it around. Yeah. They're really looking at banks, when we're looking at underwriting CIBILS, they're looking at probably 1.5 to 2 times cover for the capital repayments. Now, when I say cover, what I mean is take your profits that you should make, not maybe have made this year, but the profits that you would normally make in your business. You take off any dividend payments that you make regularly to the owners, probably yourself, and you also take off any other loan commitments that you have, any other capital loan commitments. When you get that figure, that needs to be 1.5 to 2 times at least the repayments that you will be making on this new CIBILS loan. And that's how they will determine whether you have got a viable business opportunity that they're able to support.
Amazing.
So for loss-making businesses, it becomes difficult. If they were loss-making pre-COVID, it's unlikely that they will be able to get one of these CIBILS loans because they do have that criteria. Now, 1st of April, everything stops for a while, and then hopefully from about the 6th of April, the lenders should be ready, or certainly the challenger banks and the smaller lenders will be ready to launch the replacement to bounce back in CIBILS, which is called the recovery loans.
Right.
Now, the recovery loans is very similar to the CIBILS, except there is no 25% cap on turnover. But neither is there any government paying any of the interest for 12 months, and neither will there be any capital repayment holidays. So if you're accepted for a recovery loan and you take one out, then you will have to start repaying it straight away. So you will have to demonstrate to the lender that you are going to be capable of making those payments and meeting all the interest.
And that's the main difference between the two.
That's the main difference between the two, and I think that's going to be much more difficult to access than the CIBILS have been, and probably realistically the rates in the market will be more expensive. So you've got not many days left, but you have still got time. If you think you are going to need finance to grow your business again, for your working capital, to pay your suppliers, furloughs starting to wind down, so to pay your wages, then you really need to look at whether you have access to a bounce back loan if you haven't already taken one out, or a CIBILS loan before the 31st of March. And you can do that using a platform which will give you access to lots and lots of different lenders. If you're looking for a CIBILS loan, then go onto capitalise.com and look for the tab to apply as a business. They would really love you to introduce your accountant into that conversation, because capitalise.com normally work with accountants, but you could also go direct to them as a business. So if you think you've got a good proposition, you haven't yet got a CIBILS loan, now is the time to apply for it, because this will be the best funding you will ever have access to.
Amazing. I like that you give people exactly where they can access that, because I was going to ask you that question very quickly. And, for those who have failed to get this access, in your experience, what has caused them to fail to get access, so that if they are to apply again, they'll avoid those pitfalls?
Well, firstly, if they were loss-making pre-COVID and they've never run a particularly strong-looking business, okay, so what your financial statements say is important for underwriting and credit scoring. So, on one hand, you might not want to be paying tax, but on another, if you don't report those profits, then you are not going to be seen as a good risk for a bank. So if you were showing low profits or losses pre-COVID, then unfortunately, you're not going to, loan isn't going to be open to you, and you will have to go to the wider market for the normal providers that aren't offering CIBILS. If somebody applied March, April, May for one of the CIBILS, they may have found it really, really difficult. The banks weren't up and running quick enough with it. The challenger banks weren't really offering it. And then from kind of June onwards, it got a lot better. So if people did apply in March or April and were turned down, there are now far more lenders to look to approach. So, go through capitalise.com and try again, because it may be that that's open to you. But I suppose the thing that all banks are looking for, bounce backs, people struggled if they didn't have a banking relationship. They were running a personal account rather than a business account. They may have struggled. Some banks allowed it, but not many. Or if they were using a bank that didn't have a very big high street presence, then some of those accounts that weren't fully fledged bank accounts, they were struggling to offer bounce back facilities. But that was so if you had a business banking relationship with one of the main banks, then bounce back loans were quite easy to obtain. But otherwise, they were very difficult. I appreciate people had trouble with that. But generally going forward, I think for every business underwriting proposition, every application you're putting in, to have a strong business plan and to be able to show that you run that business well, that's the thing that all lenders are looking for, and that they can have faith in your predictions, your projections, and where you intend to grow this business, how you intend to generate profits.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. There you have it. If you are looking to do this, you can actually reach out to you. Can they reach out to you, Kirsty? I know we've got very few days left. Is there any way they can access you for more information?
Well, I think if you go straight to capitalise.com, there's a whole team of people there waiting to help. And I sit in the background with them anyway. But there's so many funding specialists at capitalise.com that would be able to help you. You can just get on a call with them and they'd very quickly be able to tell you whether you're likely to have access to one of these CIBILS or not.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Is there anything else, Kirsty, here around the loans, the capital gains, the grants rather, that you need to make people aware of that I would ask you about?
Right. Well, one thing I would really say about grants is there's been an awful lot of grants announced, and it can get really, really confusing.
Yes.
To whether you've got something available to you or not. Now, the broad spectrum, there's two main pots of grants. The first one is for those that are in leisure, hospitality and retail businesses that have got rateable business premises. They're paying business rates to a local authority or council. Grants have been announced several times for that sector back from March last year, and there've been about 4 different grants now. Now, if you've not applied to your local authority for those, you may have missed the boat on some of them because they did have deadlines and they've passed, but there are still grants open, and there is a new one about to be launched in April called the Restart Grant. So approach your local authority, speak to your business development team, and see what grants they are administering that may be available to you. If you either aren't in one of those sectors or you don't have rateable premises, so for example, you may be in shared office space or you may work from home and you're not paying rates, then for each of those pots of grants, there's also been another pot called the discretionary fund. Yeah. And the local authorities have been able to set their own criteria for those grants. Now, some of them have said if you work from home, it's fine if you can show us that you have mortgages to pay or rent to pay, so you've got some fixed property costs, and you can show us that your business has suffered as a result of COVID. So you may not be a retailer, for example, but you may supply into the retail industry, or you may supply into the schools industry, or you may supply into events. So you've been massively affected by what's happened over the last 12 months for your business. So it could be that you could find some funds through the discretionary grants. Every local authority set their own criteria. You should find it on your local authority websites, but just reach out to their business development or the local development teams, and they will be able to advise you. It may not be quick. They're quite slow in answering sometimes emails. It could be weeks, but there could be pots of money there that you've missed. Secondly, there are also other grants available for certain sectors, like, for example, the creative industries or the heritage sector, or coach and bus companies. There's been all sorts of grants announced for specific sectors. And the best place to go and find those, and some of them again have closed now, but just keep an eye out for what's there. If you go to the National Lottery website and search business grants, then the National Lottery often support those different sector grants as well. So there will be a list on there. And the last thing I just wanted to mention is that there are also grants available for innovation, lots of grants available for innovation. So if you have ever had an Innovate UK grant or Smart Award, for example, then it could be that you're entitled to more funding now through Innovate UK. But there's lots of other things available as well. So if you go and look on the Innovate UK website, you will see which competitions are live, as they call them, to apply for other innovation grants as well, and pots of money. And there's all sorts of things across the spectrum available there. So hopefully there's some useful pointers for people to go and see if there's any free pots of cash around for them.
Amazing. I'm absolutely amazing. Blown away by all these that you brought up, like Innovate UK. I wasn't aware of that. And if you really want to find out more, we're going to put links to these websites so that you can just click and be taken straight to where they are. Kirsty, you have been so helpful. Do you offer any other services so that if our listeners here wants to reach out to you, they can reach out to you directly? Where can they find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at the CFN or on LinkedIn, Kirsty McGregor. But I don't actually engage directly with businesses on frontline anymore. I very much work back office supporting your accountants. So whoever your accountants are, put them in touch with me and I can support them and give them all sorts of help.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. We have come to the end of our time here together, Kirsty. So we want to thank you for your generosity in sharing those strategies and the website you've given to my audience. I truly appreciate that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I hope they have lots of success going forward next year.
Awesome. There you have it. If you really want to take advantage of what is going on, you now know what to do. You can click the link below and we will be able to help you with that as well. Remember, we are always on Clubhouse from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock UK time, sharing strategies, tips, and tricks that are working in the business world right now. So if you want to learn more about that, just shoot us an email or just reach out to us on those platforms. With that said, have a great day and I'll catch up with you very soon. Goodbye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Yeukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yukaibusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.